All right, guys, this is your quiz 6 review. Tomorrow you're going to take quiz 6, and there are 3 problems that are very similar to what you see on your screen. We're going to start with problem number 1. We have n squared plus 3m minus 18, and we want to solve this equation. So what we want to do is factor. Remember, you factor trinomials with a leading coefficient of 1 by determining the right combination of factors. So we found 2 numbers where when we multiply them, we get negative 18. So we want our product to be negative 18 and our sum to be positive 3. And the 2 numbers that we used are positive 6 and negative 3. When we multiply these 2 numbers together, we get negative 18. So that checks out. And when we add them, we get positive 3. So we factor using n plus 6 times n minus 3. And to solve, we set both of these factors equal to 0 and simplify. So n plus 6 equals 0. We're going to solve this equation by subtracting 6 from both sides. We'll get n equals 6, or n minus 3 equals 0. So we'll solve this equation by adding 3 to both sides. And we'll get n equals 3. So our answer, n could be negative 6 or positive 3. The next problem, we have another trinomial we want to solve, but this time our leading coefficient is not 1. We have 3x squared plus 7x plus 1. And we're going to use the quadratic formula, which you see here, to solve this problem. Our quadratic formula requires us to substitute numbers for a, b, and c. So in our quadratic equation, remember that first number in front of x squared is your a term. The b term is right here in front of x, and then the constant letter c is at the end. So our a term is 3, b is 7, c is 1. We're going to substitute these values into our quadratic formula, and we get negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 7 squared minus 4 times 3 times 1. And it's all divided by 2 times a. Our a is 3, so 2 times 3 gives us 6. We went ahead and simplified in our denominator. Now, underneath this radical expression, we have 7 squared, that's 49, minus 4 times 3 times 1, that's 12. So 49 minus 12, we get the square root of 37. So this is our answer. We could leave it as negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 37 over 6. And then the last question, a toy manufacturer needs a piece of plastic in the shape of a right triangle. So we have a shape of a right triangle, and we're told that the longer leg of that triangle is 5 centimeters more than the short leg. So we wrote an expression here to represent that. If the long leg is 5 centimeters more than the short leg, we don't know what the short leg is, so we use letter X to represent the short leg. Therefore, the long leg is going to be equal to X plus 5 units longer. And then we're told the hypotenuse is 10 more than the short leg. So 10 more than, that word more than means we're going to add 10 to the length of the short leg. Our short leg is X plus 10. Now, we would use Pythagorean theorem. That's what you see here. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Remember, the letter C stands for the hypotenuse. A and B are your legs. So we're now going to substitute those values, the values that we came up with for our legs and the value that we came up with for our hypotenuse. So see, our short leg, we have letter X. So we substituted X here for one of our legs, X squared. Our long leg is X plus 5. So we substituted here X plus 5 squared. Equals, the hypotenuse is X plus 10, so we substituted X plus 10 squared. Now we just expand those polynomials on both sides of this equal sign. X plus 10 squared is the same as us multiplying X plus 10 by itself, okay? So X plus 10 times X plus 10. And when we distribute On the right side, x times x, we get x squared, x times 10, we get 10x, and then we get 10 times x, another 10x. That's how we come up with the 20x. We add those two together. And then the last two terms, 10 times 10, we get 100. On the right side, we want to expand x plus 5 squared. We're multiplying x plus 5 times itself. So x times x gives us x squared. Then we have 5x and 5x. Together that makes 10x. And the lastly, 5 times 5 leaves us with 25. All right, so we want to simplify here. We're going to combine like terms. So we subtract the 100 from both sides of this equation. And we subtract the 20x from both sides. And we subtract x squared. All right, so our x squared, one of our x squared terms at least, is going to cancel. The x squared term we have in front, we just carry that down. And then the 10x minus 20x, combining those x terms, 10x minus 20x gives us negative 10x. And 25 minus 100, 25 minus 100 gives us negative 75. So now we want to factor this x squared minus 10x minus 75. We got to find two numbers that meet those conditions, right? Product of negative 17, but the two factors should have a sum. When I add them together, I should get negative 10. The combination we use are negative 15 and positive 5. Now, 15 times 5 is going to give us 75. And also when I add them together, negative 15 plus 5, I get negative 10. So we'll factor using x minus 15 and x plus 5. So negative 15 and 5 is that combination that helped us to reach this goal. After you factor, you want to set each of these factors equal to 0 and solve the equations. All right, so x minus 15 equals 0. You solve by adding 15 to both sides of the equation. And see, we get x equals 15. That's one of our solutions. And the other we would get from taking x plus 5 and setting it equal to 0. And we'd solve by subtracting 5. And we'll get x equals negative 5. Now, let's start to answer this question. So we want to know how long each of the sides of the triangle are. Now, we got two solutions for x equals 15 or x equals negative 5. Negative 5 is not useful here because one of those sides of the triangle can't be a negative number. It can't be less than 0. That means it doesn't exist. So we will omit the x equals negative 5 solution and the length of that shorter leg, because remember letter x stands for the short leg, x is equal to 15. So we have our short leg up here as 15. Our long leg, we add 15 plus 5 to get 10. And then our hypotenuse, 15 plus 10 to get 25. So these would be our three lengths that we need to determine to answer this question. And that's what your quiz 6 will look like. Good luck on the quiz.